Hey everybody, welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs channel. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed because I'm going to be bringing you a lot of great content. Speaking of content, let's get into today's video. Oh Lord, Twitter has been going on and on and on about Russell Wilson. You seem to be in one camp or another camp. There's no in between when it comes to this fan base. You seem to be either in the camp where Russell Wilson is over the hill, he's washed up, he needs to retire right now, or you're in this camp where we need to get Russell Wilson at all costs and he is still one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. Let me digress a bit. There are fans out there who are a little bit more like, yeah, would love to have Russell Wilson. Has nothing to do with him being over the hill or anything like that. I still think he's elite. I think that his cost is going to be too high. Totally get that. I totally get that idea. And we have been trying to get away from the mentality that Dan Snyder built his reputation on, going out and getting these big name stars to come in and offer them loads of money, knowing that their talent is not what it used to be, not what they made their name off of. And then this is the biggest argument I think we have with Russell Wilson. Obviously, there's people who think that because the Seattle Seahawks had a bad year this year, that it equates to Russell Wilson starting to go down the tubes. Not realizing, hey, guess what? Russell Wilson had an injury this year to his hand, his throwing hand, right? He had to have surgery, so he was out for several games as it was. And when he came back, I mean, come on, he was not at his best. We realized that he was not at his best when he came back, right? He had an injury to a finger on his throwing hand. There are certain fingers, of course, that are not as important as other fingers on your throwing hand. Obviously, you want your index finger to be in best of health, right? Your index finger, your thumb, because that's usually the part that grips the football, right? You know, if your pinky's messed up, if your ring finger is messed up, okay, you can probably live with that. But when it's your index finger, it's your thumb, that's really going to put a hurting on your throwing ability. Dr. Greg, right? I know exactly what I'm talking about, obviously. But come on, folks. It's Russell Wilson. This has been the only bad season the Seattle Seahawks have had since Russell Wilson came into the league. And you can argue, okay, his last Super Bowl appearance was 8 years ago. That is really not a huge amount of time removed. I mean, 8 years ago, okay, yeah, it's 2014. I still think that 2014 was not that long ago, but then again, I'm getting older. I still think the year 2000 wasn't that long ago. So you got Russell Wilson having a bad season. You look at all the other seasons though, he was like one season removed from throwing 40 touchdown passes. He didn't have an offensive line in Seattle. He was really running for his life on every single pass attempt almost. I mean, that was probably the only reason why that he was able to actually pass the ball downfield was the fact that he is a mobile quarterback. And so you also take into the consideration that the Seahawks didn't have the Legion of Boom anymore. They were basically boomed out. So the defense was really going downhill as well. When you don't have an offensive line, your defense is struggling, you're going to have some problems. And the fact that Seattle still had a winning season last season, and then of course this season they didn't. Russell Wilson gets injured, all this stuff. I mean, it's going to catch up with you sooner or later. But are we supposed to say that because of all of this, it is really comes down to the fact that Russell Wilson is over the hill? No. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I had somebody on Twitter trying to spit out stats to me in regards to there's never been a quarterback who makes up this certain amount of percentage against the salary cap to take a team to the Super Bowl. I mean, he starts throwing out on all these stats. I don't know, it's almost like a scene from Moneyball. I mean, the dude's like going through all these stats and everything like that. I'm not really a stats guy per se. I'm more of a, let's see the tangibles on the field. And that is really where you need to look at it, because look at it. Kirk Cousins, if you go by stats alone and percentages and all this stuff, that dude should go into the Hall of Fame. Yet he has not won anything. He's won maybe one playoff game in his whole career. Other than that, the Vikings have went downhill ever since Kirk Cousins came to town. So that being said, that comparison, you got to really compare Russell Wilson's play on the field. He had an off season this year. Yes, he was injured, but I find it hard to believe that he has played so great for all of these seasons up until this season, and then suddenly we're supposed to say he's no longer good, he's over the hill. I don't agree with that whatsoever. Russell Wilson is still worth it. Now the question is, how much is Washington willing to put up in order to bring Russell Wilson to Washington? That is going to be the question mark. Honestly, I feel like it's definitely going to take some first round draft picks. You've got people on Twitter that's like giving away the farm. Like, I'm willing to give up 3 first-round draft picks and Chase Young and Montez Sweat and Deron Payne, you know, the water boy, and to get one Russell Wilson. Now, let's back up on that. I'm not willing to bet the farm on Russell Wilson. I am willing to give up some high-round draft picks for Russell Wilson. And I think, honestly, if Wilson is really, truly wanting to test his options in the offseason, he is certainly going to get some high offers. And I believe that the Washington football team is prepared to give him some high offers. They're probably willing to give him a really stacked contract. It may come down to the idea that, you know, we're willing to give you guys 2 first-round draft picks. You know, Russell Wilson, we're going to give you one of the highest paid contracts for a quarterback in the league. Of course, not going to be fully guaranteed Kirk Cousins. Maybe it doesn't come down to money. Maybe Russell Wilson does not want to come to Washington. Like, it seems like a lot of players were still having that issue where there's the stigma around the franchise, and so certain players just don't want to go to that team because they realize, I don't really consider them a contender, so I want to go somewhere where I can win a Super Bowl. Yes, I'm going to think big. I'm going to dream big, because guess what? That's what fans do. So tired of all the negativity that's surrounding this franchise. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, of course, the team has not won anything worth mentioning in years. I get that. But guess what? There are other teams in the league that has suffered mightily as well. And yet those fans are still there. They're still supporting the team. So come on. I mean, this is our team. This is our team that's ready to become the Washington Red Pandas. I really feel like that Russell Wilson is going to come to Washington. And I feel like it's going to take 2 first-round draft picks. It's going to obviously take our first-round draft pick this season. It's going to take our first-round draft pick next season. And it's probably going to take either a second rounder, or we may be able to get by with a third rounder. It is totally possible we do have to consider giving up maybe a player, and maybe a player on defense. And no, it is not going to be Chase Young. That's going to be a whole other video for me, is to just completely talk about why I think it's ridiculous that people have given up on Chase Young after one great season, one slow start to a sophomore season, and then he has an ACL and suddenly he's a bust. That is the Washington football fandom, folks. That's just kind of, that's what I really expect. The long and short of it is, I am willing to give up draft picks for Russell Wilson because I think he still has a lot left. Yes, he's going to turn 34 this year. Look at all of the other elite quarterbacks in the league who have either just retired or they're still playing in the league. Yes, I'm going to say Tom Brady because guess what? He is the GOAT. And yes, I realize he probably sold his soul to the devil in order to, remain in, eternally youthful. But the dude is 44 years old, going to be 45 this year, arguably is having one of his best seasons in his career in a while. You have Tom Brady, great example, of course, right? Then you had Drew Brees, who played until he was 40, 41, somewhere around there. He finally retired. But you look at Russell Wilson, okay, Wilson, he still has probably a good 6 years, 5, maybe being a little bit more realistic, but at least 5 good years left. Maybe 6, maybe 7. Yeah, at that point, you're probably not as mobile of a quarterback at the age of 40 or 41. But Russell Wilson can still pass the ball. You know, he's not one of those one-dimensional guys who every now and then gets lucky and is able to, you know, get the ball downfield to somebody. Jalen Hurts. I mean, Russell Wilson can pass the ball. He can be accurate, and he's not afraid to go deep. He has the arm for it. Here's the other thing. People say, you get Russell Wilson, you might as well kiss Terry McLaurin goodbye. Guess what? If you don't get a quarterback who can get the ball to Terry McLaurin, you can kiss him goodbye anyway. He's not going to stay on the team that he can't get the ball. He can't make some big plays downfield, and he can't compete in the playoffs. So either way, you're going to lose Terry McLaurin. You might as well try your best to get him a quarterback, because if he's playing with somebody like Russell Wilson, Terry McLaurin's going to want to stay. Now put that in your pipe and smoke it. Now here's my one final thought on all of this. People seem to think that you either get a veteran quarterback or you get the rookie quarterback. You can't get both. Why? If you're getting Russell Wilson this year, why do you even need to consider the first round draft picks for quarterback this year? I mean, yeah, you wouldn't have that first round draft pick, but it's Russell Wilson and it's these other guys who have been unproven, who have not played a snap in the NFL. I mean, which do you want? Who's to say that these guys are going to be the guys who are going to develop into the next franchise quarterback? Anyway, we already know that Russell Wilson is a franchise quarterback. We don't know anything about these other guys. So why can't you not get Russell Wilson? Maybe you do look up and you get a good solid quarterback in the latter rounds that you can sit on the bench for a few years, develop, and he's going to develop behind a future Hall of Famer. I mean, come on. To me, that's what you do. My final thought is you get Russell Wilson. You do draft a quarterback at some point. Doesn't have to be this season. It could be next season. You let that quarterback sit, develop, and then once Russell Wilson has kind of been used up, once Russell Wilson realizes that he can no longer be the Russell Wilson that can lead a team to the Super Bowl, and he steps back and retires, you can have this guy ready to go. You really honestly can have both, folks, okay? You can have both. People think it's one or the other, and that's just it. That's just baloney. Trust me, I know about baloney, especially fried baloney. If you enjoyed this video, then consider giving it a like, leaving me a comment, let me know what you think about the whole Russell Wilson deal. He is coming to Washington. I'm going to go ahead and say it now. Russell Wilson is going to be Washington's starting quarterback next season. And if you haven't subscribed yet, why have you not subscribed yet? Then please consider subscribing to the Washington Football Maniacs. I mean, come on. If anything, you're getting entertained, right? That being said, take care, folks. Have a great day. Hell to the Washington football team, Redskins, Red Wolves, Red Pandas, Red Tails, Warriors, Commanders, Armadillos, Brigades. I don't know what they're going to be called.